Archangel Michael says this is urgent. A shocking deal has been made behind your back and you must listen now before it is too late. This secret agreement directly impacts your future and the path your son will walk from this day forward. God is very angry at what is happening to your son. The forces of darkness have moved against him in ways you cannot see. This is not a moment to scroll past this message. It is not a time for doubt or hesitation. The deal made in the shadows affects everything you care about, everything you have worked to protect. You must open your heart to this warning before the consequences become too severe to reverse. Archangel Michael has broken divine protocol to deliver this message because the danger is real and time is running out. The forces of darkness are gathering, making agreements in realms you cannot access, signing away pieces of your son's future without your consent or knowledge. These shadow beings work in whispers behind veils of deception. They make trades and bargains using your son as the currency. God's anger burns hot at this violation, this trespassing into the sacred territory of your family. His wrath is justified by the boldness of their schemes. They have drawn up contracts in spiritual dimensions, papers signed with invisible ink, agreements sealed with dark energy, all designed to redirect your son's path. The deal they have made targets his purpose, his calling, his destiny, the very reason he was sent to this earth at this time. You cannot see these transactions with human eyes, you cannot hear them with human ears, but Archangel Michael stands witness to their plots. He has watched them gather in dark corners, plotting, calculating, measuring the weaknesses they can exploit in your son's life. Time is critically short. The implementation of their agreement has already begun. Subtle changes are occurring, energies shifting, circumstances aligning. You must act now. You must intervene before the full weight of this deal comes crashing down upon your family, upon your son, upon the future God intended. Archangel Michael has been sent to warn you, to wake you, to call you to action before these shadow forces complete what they have started. The deal has been made, but it can still be broken. The contract signed, but it can still be nullified, but only if you move quickly, only if you listen carefully. Like this video if you receive this message, if you sense the urgency, if you feel the divine warning reaching into your spirit. Archangel Michael is watching, guiding, protecting those who are willing to heed this alert, those who recognize the gravity of this moment. Stand in protection over your family, over your son. Declare your spiritual authority in this situation. The forces of heaven are positioning themselves around you right now, but they need your permission, they need your participation, they need your awareness to fully engage. Your action now determines what happens next. The deal made against your son was crafted with terrible precision. The dark forces studied his patterns, his weaknesses, his moments of vulnerability. They identified the gaps in his spiritual protection, the times when his guard is down, the places where doubts have taken root in his mind. This agreement allows them access to his thoughts, to plant seeds of confusion, rebellion, and destruction. It gives them permission to whisper lies that sound like his own voice. They have bargained for influence over his decisions, his friendships, his desires, turning him slowly away from his true path toward choices that will harm his future. The contract they signed allocates specific spirits to target specific areas of his life, his education, his relationships, his sense of purpose, his connection to faith. Each of these spirits has been given assignments, detailed instructions on how to manipulate, redirect, and ultimately destroy the divine blueprint for his life. They move silently like shadows, attaching to emotions, amplifying insecurities, magnifying conflicts, creating distance between him and those who would protect him. This deal was sealed at a specific moment, and the spiritual barriers were temporarily weakened when divine protection was momentarily less vigilant. The forces behind this agreement are ancient, experienced in the art of deception. They have done this countless times to countless children throughout history. But they did not account for this warning. They did not expect Archangel Michael to intervene on your behalf with this critical information at this critical hour. Type Amen if you stand against those targeting your family, if you refuse to allow this secret deal to determine your son's future. Declare your resistance against these dark forces that move in shadows, that make agreements without your consent. Your declaration carries power in the spiritual realm. Your words create barriers that these entities cannot cross. Archangel Michael stands ready with sword drawn, but he needs your agreement, your participation, your conscious choice to stand in opposition to what has been set in motion. Type Amen to activate divine intervention in this situation. God's anger is not directed at your son but at those who seek to destroy the purpose for which he created him. The Creator's wrath burns against the violation of divine law, against the interference with free will, against the corruption of innocent souls. These forces have broken spiritual boundaries, trespassed into protected territory, attempted to rewrite destinies that were established before time began. Your son carries a specific assignment, a divine imprint, a purpose that threatens the kingdom of darkness. That is why they target him, that is why they scheme, that is why they have made this deal, to prevent him from becoming who he was created to be. God's anger is the righteous response of a father seeing his child attacked, of a creator watching his creation being manipulated, of a king witnessing rebellion in his kingdom. This divine anger is not destructive but protective. It is the fierce love that rises up to defend, that moves heaven and earth to rescue. The Almighty has dispatched Archangel Michael because of this righteous anger, because of this holy determination to preserve what he has ordained for your son. God's wrath is the fire that will burn away the chains of this unholy agreement if you will stand in agreement with his purpose. The battle for your son's future has been raging since before he was born, opposing forces contending for influence over his life, his choices, his destiny. This is not the first attempt they have made against him, and it will not be the last. They are relentless, opportunistic, patient in their evil work. They watch for moments of weakness, times when guidance is absent, when spiritual coverage is thin, when emotions run high and discernment runs low. They strike when defenses are down, when you are distracted, when your attention has been pulled in too many directions to notice the subtle shifts in his behavior. Spiritual warfare is not conducted with physical weapons but with thoughts, with emotions, with suggestions, with circumstances carefully arranged to lead toward destruction. The enemy forces know that direct attacks would be recognized, so they move incrementally, gradually shifting perspectives, eroding foundations, planting seeds of doubt. Your son stands at the center of this battle not because he has done wrong but because he carries something right, something powerful, something threatening to their darkness. You have been divinely appointed to see through their deception, to recognize their tactics, to stand in the gap between them and him. This awareness is not given to everyone. This sight beyond the veil, this perception of spiritual reality, is a gift granted to those who must protect what God has entrusted to them. Archangel Michael has come to awaken this gift in you, to activate this spiritual perception, because the battle has intensified and your intervention is urgently needed. Archangel Michael says, stand firm, for the battle is not over yet. You have been chosen specifically for this fight. You must not fail. Your position as guardian, as protector, as spiritual authority in your son's life gives you power that the enemy fears, power that can dismantle their carefully constructed plans. Type 777 if you will not let the darkness win, if you refuse to surrender your son's future to these shadow agreements. Heaven waits for your response. The angelic forces stand ready, but they honor the authority God has given to you in this situation. Declare your position now. Make your spiritual stance known both to the forces of light and to those of darkness. The hands that move against your son are clever. They disguise themselves as progress, as freedom, as harmless exploration, as normal teenage behavior. They hide behind screens, behind music, behind new friendships, behind attitudes presented as mere phases of growing up. These forces create division, sowing seeds of misunderstanding between you and your son, making you seem unreasonable, making him feel misunderstood. They whisper that you don't really love him, that you don't understand him, that your guidance is outdated, that your concerns are controlling. Meanwhile, they position new influences, new voices that speak with false wisdom, false acceptance, false understanding. They create distance, first emotional, then physical, gradually pulling him away from the protection of your covering, of your prayers, of your counsel. Their goal is isolation, separation, division, because alone he is vulnerable, alone he is susceptible, alone he is more easily led astray. They disguise destruction as self-expression, rebellion as independence, harmful behaviors as personal growth, dangerous paths as self-discovery. They use partial truths, the most effective lies containing just enough reality to seem reasonable, just enough fact to hide the poison. Watch for sudden new interests that pull him away from previous healthy connections, sudden new language that creates barriers between you, sudden new attitudes toward faith, toward family, toward his future. Notice the patterns of withdrawal, the resistance to family gatherings, the avoidance of spiritual conversations, the irritation at moral boundaries. These are not random, these are not coincidental, these are coordinated tactical maneuvers designed to implement the deal that has been made behind your back. Archangel Michael reveals these patterns so you can recognize them, so you can counteract them, so you can reclaim ground that the enemy has quietly taken. This particular moment stands at a critical juncture, a tipping point where intervention is still possible, but the window is rapidly closing. The deal made in shadow realms operates on specific timelines, spiritual contracts with activation phases, implementation schedules, completion deadlines. You are catching this at the early stages, where the changes are still subtle, where the effects can still be reversed, where the damage can still be undone. If left unchallenged, these influences will strengthen, these patterns will solidify, these deceptions will become beliefs that shape his entire future. Spiritual agreements gain power over time as they become reinforced by choices, by habits, by repeated thoughts, by consistent actions, all flowing from the initial deception. What begins as whispered suggestions becomes internal dialogue, becomes personal conviction, becomes life direction. The enemies of his destiny are counting on your silence, on your distraction, on your hesitation. They expect you to notice too late when their work is already deeply rooted. Archangel Michael emphasizes that divine timing has brought this warning to you now, at precisely the moment when your action will be most effective, when your intervention will carry the most power. Do not delay, do not wait for more evidence, do not hesitate until damage becomes visible. By then the roots will be much harder to remove. Type 1 will protect my family, to break their hold, to shatter the agreement they have made without your consent, without your knowledge. Your declaration carries authority in both realms, seen and unseen. Your words spoken with conviction begin the process of dismantling what they have constructed. Archangel Michael stands ready to enforce your declaration, to implement your spiritual authority, to back your words with heavenly power. The time for passivity has ended. The moment for decisive action has arrived. The spiritual atmosphere around your son is waiting for your command. Type 1 will protect my family, and watch what begins to shift in the unseen realms. The deal made against your son targets specific areas of his life, creating vulnerabilities that will grow if left unchallenged. Watch for sudden mood swings, unexplained anger, unusual depression. These are not just normal emotions but spiritual influences amplifying natural feelings to unnatural levels. Notice changes in his sleep patterns, nightmares, restlessness, inability to find peace. These indicate spiritual activity during vulnerable unconscious hours. Pay attention to new friendships, especially those that quickly become intense, exclusive, demanding of his time, his loyalty, his secrets. The agreement specifically targets his spiritual awareness, creating cynicism about faith, doubt about truth, confusion about morality, making what was once clear now seem uncertain. It seeks to create distance between him and his purpose, between his actions and his true identity, between his present choices and his future calling. Look for patterns of self-destruction, subtle at first, small compromises, minor rebellions, seemingly innocent experimentation that lead toward increasing harm. The forces implementing this deal will attack his sense of worth, his belief in his abilities, his confidence in his place in the world, replacing truth with lies, replacing destiny with distraction. They target his relationship with you, with family, with positive influences, making communication difficult, making connection strained, making trust fragile. These are not random issues, not coincidental problems, but coordinated attacks flowing from the spiritual contract that Archangel Michael has revealed to you. Recognizing these specific threats allows you to counter them precisely, to address the root, not just the symptoms, to break the power of this unholy agreement at its points of manifestation. Archangel Michael offers specific guidance, divine strategies, heavenly wisdom for counteracting this dark agreement and reclaiming your son's future. First, establish a protective declaration, speaking aloud daily. I break all unholy agreements made concerning my son. I cancel every dark contract. I sever all destructive soul ties in the name of the Most High. Create spiritual boundaries around your home, around your son's room, around his possessions, through prayer, through anointing, through words of blessing and protection spoken consistently. When you notice specific attacks, specific manifestations, address them directly. I break the spirit of confusion. I command clarity to return. I restore truth in this situation. Reclaim territory in the natural realm that represents spiritual ground. Spend time in his space. Engage in activities together. Rebuild connections that the enemy has tried to sever. Watch your words carefully, speaking life, speaking destiny, speaking purpose over him, regardless of his response, regardless of his attitude, regardless of current behaviors. The dark forces gain power through negative declarations, through words of frustration, through expressions of hopelessness. So guard your tongue as a weapon of spiritual warfare. Establish daily spiritual practices that create a covering, morning prayers, declarations of protection, spiritual cleansing of spaces, regular reading of sacred texts. When confronting concerning behaviors, address the spiritual source, not just the physical manifestation. I speak to the spirit behind this behavior, not to my son who is being influenced. Create alliances with others who understand spiritual warfare, who will stand with you in prayer, who will support your family without judgment, without criticism, without fear. Archangel Michael emphasizes that consistency matters more than intensity. Regular spiritual disciplines create stronger protection than occasional desperate interventions. These strategies activate divine assistance, positioning heavenly forces to work alongside your human efforts, creating a partnership between seen and unseen realms to break this unholy agreement. Remember that love is your strongest weapon, unconditional, persistent, unwavering love that the enemy cannot counterfeit, cannot destroy, cannot overcome. Type 333 if you are standing in faith for your son's protection, if you are implementing these spiritual strategies, if you are breaking this unholy agreement. Your declaration aligns you with heaven's armies, positions you under divine covering, establishes you as an active participant in this spiritual battle. Archangel Michael responds to your conscious choice, your deliberate stance, your willful engagement in the war for your son's destiny. The forces of darkness tremble at your awakening, your awareness, your activation. They did not expect you to see through their deception, to recognize their tactics, to counter their movements. Type 333 to declare your spiritual position. Your son was targeted precisely because of who he is, because of what he carries, because of what he is destined to become. The enemy forces do not waste resources on those who pose no threat. They do not craft elaborate plans for the insignificant. They do not make spiritual contracts concerning those with no divine purpose. The very existence of this attack reveals the importance of his destiny, the significance of his calling, the power of his future impact. God created him with specific gifts, specific strengths, specific sensitivities, designed for a unique purpose that threatens the kingdom of darkness. His life carries a divine imprint, a heavenly blueprint, a sacred assignment that these forces desperately want to prevent from manifesting. They can see what you cannot yet see: potential awaiting activation, purpose awaiting fulfillment, destiny awaiting its appointed time. The anger of God burns against their interference, because He has invested His own nature, His own plans, His own purposes in your son's life. What appears now as ordinary, as unremarkable, as typical youth, contains seeds of greatness, contains sparks of divine fire, contains elements that will combine to fulfill heaven's intentions. The enemy attacks what threatens them most, targets what will damage them most, fears what will expose them most. Take courage in knowing that this battle, this opposition, this attack actually confirms the significance of who your son is created to be. God's plan remains unchanged, remains powerful, remains certain despite all efforts to derail it, to destroy it, to delay it. You are not powerless against these forces, you are not defenseless against their schemes, you are not helpless against their agreements. Divine authority flows through your position as parent, as guardian, as spiritual covering for your son, authority that exceeds that of any darkness, any deception, any spiritual contract made without consent. The light you carry dispels shadows, reveals hidden things, exposes what lurks in darkness, no matter how cleverly disguised, no matter how deeply concealed. Your love for your son creates a shield that these forces cannot penetrate, a covering they cannot remove, a protection they cannot dismantle when it is activated through faith, through awareness, through intentional spiritual engagement. You have been equipped with spiritual weapons, with divine strategies, with heavenly assistance that far outweighs anything arrayed against you, against your family, against your son. The enemy wants you to feel overwhelmed, inadequate, unprepared, wants you to believe the lie that this battle is too big, that this attack is too strong, that this agreement is too binding. But Archangel Michael declares that you have everything needed to triumph, everything required to overcome, everything necessary to break these chains. You stand in a position of victory, not of defeat. Your prayers penetrate realms, your declarations shape reality, your faith activates forces unseen, your love creates barriers that darkness cannot cross. The same power that created universes, that established order from chaos, that spoke light into darkness dwells within you, awaits your command, responds to your authority. You were chosen for this battle because you are capable of winning it, equipped for overcoming it, designed for breaking the power of this unholy agreement. Rise now into the fullness of who you are, into the authority you carry, into the position of spiritual power that makes the forces of darkness tremble. Even as you receive this message, divine intervention has already begun. Heavenly forces are already responding. Spiritual assistance is already in motion. Archangel Michael stands with sword drawn, with heavenly armies positioned, with divine strategies activated, waiting only for your agreement, your participation, your conscious engagement. Watch for signs of shifting spiritual atmospheres, sudden moments of clarity, unexpected returns to previous healthy patterns, brief glimpses of your son's true nature breaking through the deception. Notice dreams that bring revelation, insights that seem to come from nowhere, conversations that unexpectedly open doors to truth, to connection, to healing. The heavenly response may begin subtly, small changes, improved communication, brief moments of the sun you remember showing through the clouds of influence. Pay attention to divine coincidences, people appearing at the right moment, resources becoming available, spiritual support manifesting just when needed most. The enemies of your son's destiny will begin to scatter, their unity broken, their coordination disrupted, their confidence shaken as heavenly light exposes their schemes. What they built in darkness cannot survive in light, what they established in secret cannot withstand exposure, what they planned without consent begins to crumble when confronted with divine authority. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize these signs, to acknowledge these shifts, to celebrate these victories however small they might initially appear. Each evidence of divine intervention builds faith for the next battle, momentum for complete victory, confidence for total restoration. Type divine protection activated to seal this intervention, to establish this partnership with heaven, to confirm your role in this spiritual battle. Your declaration serves as a spiritual signature, an endorsement of heaven's involvement, a confirmation of your willing participation in breaking this unholy agreement. Archangel Michael awaits this affirmation before unleashing the full measure of divine assistance, before implementing the complete strategy for your son's liberation. The forces of darkness look for any hesitation, any doubt, any reluctance that would give them legal ground to maintain their hold, to preserve portions of their contract. Type divine protection activated and close every door to their continued influence in your son's life. The secret agreement made concerning your son can be broken, can be nullified, can be completely dismantled through specific spiritual declarations, through deliberate acts of faith, through consistent application of divine authority. Speak aloud daily: I break every unholy covenant made concerning my son, I cancel every dark contract, I nullify every spiritual agreement made without my knowledge, without my consent, without divine approval. I declare all such agreements void, powerless, without effect from this moment forward, in every realm, in every dimension, in every spiritual jurisdiction. I reclaim all ground surrendered through deception, I recover all access granted through manipulation, I restore all boundaries violated through trickery, through counterfeit authority, through spiritual fraud. By the power invested in me as parent, as spiritual guardian, as divinely appointed protector, I render these agreements empty, worthless, destroyed, their terms unfulfillable, their conditions impossible, their objectives unattainable. I place my son under divine protection, under heavenly covering, under spiritual authority that supersedes all claims, all rights, all access granted through these dark contracts. I invoke heavenly law, divine order, spiritual justice against those who crafted these agreements, against those who implemented these schemes, against those who sought to redirect my son's destiny. Archangel Michael stands as witness to these declarations, as enforcer of this spiritual cancellation, as heavenly representative, ensuring these proclamations reach every realm where these contracts have been recorded. The sword of divine truth cuts through every deception, every disguise, every illusion, revealing what has been hidden, exposing what has been concealed, destroying what has been constructed against my son's true purpose. Where agreements have been signed, I apply divine eraser. Where contracts have been sealed, I apply heavenly fire. Where covenants have been recorded, I apply spiritual deletion, complete, permanent, irreversible. What God has ordained for my son will stand, will manifest, will come to pass, regardless of all opposition, all interference, all attempts to prevent his divine destiny from being fulfilled. Type 999 if you are standing in faith for the breaking of this deal, for the cancellation of this contract, for the nullification of this unholy agreement. Declare your son's freedom from dark influences, your family's liberation from spiritual attack, your home's deliverance from enemy access. Your declaration reaches into spiritual realms where these agreements are stored, where these contracts are enforced, where these covenants are implemented. Archangel Michael receives your spiritual authorization to completely dismantle what has been constructed against your son, against his future, against his divine purpose. Type 999 to finalize this spiritual transaction. The battle continues, but victory is already established, already certain, already secured in the spiritual realm, where outcomes are determined before they manifest in the physical world. The enemy forces are already retreating, already scattering, already losing their cohesion as divine light exposes their schemes, as heavenly fire consumes their agreements, as spiritual truth demolishes their deceptions. They cannot withstand the authority you have claimed, the position you have taken, the declarations you have made when aligned with divine purpose, when backed by heavenly power, when implemented with unwavering faith. What they constructed in darkness is crumbling in light, what they established in secret is dissolving in exposure, what they planted in deception is being uprooted by truth. They did not expect this intervention, this awareness, this activation of spiritual authority. They believed their plans would proceed undetected, their schemes would advance unchallenged, their agreements would be implemented unopposed. Now they face not just you but the armies of heaven, not just your awareness but divine revelation, not just your resistance but spiritual warfare operating at levels they cannot overcome, cannot counter, cannot match. Your son's destiny remains intact, his purpose preserved, his future secured, not because the attack didn't come but because it was discovered, was confronted, was defeated through partnership between your authority and heaven's power. Archangel Michael declares that what was meant for destruction God will use for development, what was designed to derail will actually direct, what was created to confuse will ultimately clarify your son's true calling. The enemies of his future have already lost their power, their influence, their access. The tide has turned, the battle has shifted, the victory is being established with each declaration, with each act of faith, with each spiritual stance. As the unholy agreement is broken, divine restoration begins, healing what was damaged, reclaiming what was stolen, rebuilding what was attacked in your son's life, in his mind, in his spirit. Archangel Michael declares that nothing will be permanently lost, nothing irreparably damaged, nothing forever destroyed. What the enemy meant for harm, God will transform into something greater, something stronger, something more powerful. The attacks were permitted only because God saw opportunity within them, saw potential for greater purpose, saw pathways to deeper development that would not have been possible without this opposition. Where confusion was sown, clarity will emerge. Where doubt was planted, faith will grow. Where division was created, deeper connection will form, all multiplied beyond what existed before this battle began. God promises compensation for every loss, restoration for every wound, redemption of every difficult experience, turning the enemy's greatest attacks into the foundation for your son's greatest strengths. The spiritual muscles developed through resistance, the discernment sharpened through deception, the faith deepened through challenge will serve him throughout his life, throughout his calling, throughout his divine purpose. This attempted derailment will become the very track that accelerates him toward destiny. This opposition will become the force that propels him into purpose. This attack will become the catalyst that activates his calling. Archangel Michael assures that heaven's restoration exceeds earth's expectations, divine compensation outweighs human calculations, spiritual healing surpasses natural understanding. What emerges from this battle will be stronger, more focused, more powerful than what entered it. Your son's true identity shining brighter, his divine purpose burning clearer, his heavenly assignment standing firmer. Archangel Michael says, rise now and declare this battle won, this agreement broken, this attack defeated through divine intervention, through spiritual partnership, through unwavering faith. Stand in the full authority given to you as parent, as guardian, as spiritual covering. Declare the outcome before it fully manifests. Speak the victory before all evidence appears. Claim the restoration even as it begins. Type, victory is mine to claim what is already yours, to establish what heaven has decreed, to finalize what divine power has accomplished. Nothing can prevent this victory, no force can stop this restoration, no power can maintain this unholy agreement. When confronted with divine authority, when challenged by heavenly intervention, when opposed by spiritual truth. Type, victory is mine, and settle this matter completely. The secret deal has been exposed, been nullified, been completely dismantled, its power broken, its influence ended, its effects reversed. The forces that gathered against your son are scattering, are retreating, are seeking places to hide, but finding nowhere to escape the light that now shines on their previously hidden schemes. Your son is being restored to his original design, his divine purpose, his heavenly calling, the path temporarily obscured now becoming clear once again. Divine protection surrounds him, heavenly guidance directs him, spiritual truth anchors him as the fog of deception lifts, as the clouds of confusion clear, as the weight of manipulation falls away. You have not fought this battle alone, you have stood with heavenly armies, you have partnered with divine forces, you have aligned with spiritual power that far exceeds anything arrayed against you. The heavens have heard your declarations, have received your faith, have honored your spiritual authority as you have taken your place as guardian of what God has entrusted to you. Your son's future remains in divine hands, his destiny secured, his purpose protected, his calling preserved despite all attempts to derail it, to destroy it, to divert it from its intended direction. Archangel Michael confirms that what heaven has ordained will be fulfilled, what God has purposed will be accomplished, what the Creator has designed will be manifested.